Let me just start off by saying that kids will absolutely out you. I was at the grocery store a couple of days ago, and I was like maybe 3 to 4 feet away from a dude with this kid, and the dude sneezed, and his kid actually outed him out for farting. Now, I will say, I wouldn't even have thought about it. I wouldn't even have given it a second thought, but the kid just like put his business out into the public, and everybody in the area essentially knew what had gone down. And in case you guys are wondering, the kid was definitely not mine, and that definitely did not happen to me, okay? Anyways, all jokes aside, in today's video, I thought we would talk a little bit about CT Toys. I'll be brutally honest with you guys. Maybe I live under a rock. I'm a complete idiot. I'm a buffoon. I had no idea who CT Toys was. I had no idea about this entity or this company. And I just recently found out about them through a number of different really cool YouTubers. They were, kind of talking about them on other channels, reviewing action figures, and I thought that I would kind of dive a little bit deeper into them. And I have to say, this is absolutely fascinating what's going on. Now, essentially what CT Toys is, I'm not sure if they're a knockoff company. I mean, I guess you could say that. I'm just going to give you guys like my personal theory on this. What I think they do is I think they take the original Mafex figures, they take them apart, they re-engineer them, and they figure out a way to put a figure that is essentially the same figure with lesser quality. I'm going to assume they cut corners here and there, and then obviously they don't have to pay licensing because they're not an official or an official action figure manufacturer. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure how all that works. I'm assuming they work in the gray. Not to mention this is an overseas company, so I'm assuming the laws are a little bit more relaxed, or they can get away with things things of that nature by maybe paying some people off here and there. I don't think that it would be as easy to pull that off here in the States, but regardless, that's essentially what they're doing. They're being able to re-release or release Mafex action figures for a much less price point. Obviously, they're not Mafex figures. They're not officially licensed. They're in these like cheaper packages and things of that nature. And I'll be brutally honest with you guys, I only dabble in a lot of these imported figures, like whether it's SH or whether it's Mafex or Mesco. I usually tend to only dabble here and there because not are they only a higher price point, but usually their quality is not up to my standards, especially at that price point, right? If I'm paying $20 to $25, I'm okay with, having little paint application issues or having accessories that are not great, or the articulation is a little bit lacking, or a head sculpt wasn't painted properly. Things of that nature really don't bother me too much at that $20 to $25 price point. But when I'm paying like $80, $60 to $100 for an action figure, I expect the utmost quality. And a lot of the times, whether it's specifically like SH and Mafex, I've ran into a lot of QC problems, and I don't want to deal with the hassle of like calling them up and having them replace it or getting a refund. So I usually just end up tossing the figure or trying to fix it as best I possibly can. So I can't really sit here and tell you that I'm a complete expert when it comes down to these imported figures. But upon doing just a little bit of research, it appears a lot of the figures that are being sold by CT Toys were originally like really high on the third-party market. So I'll give you guys an example. I believe the brown suited Wolverine brand new goes for like over $500. Even the used ones, you're still paying about like $200 to $300. That's an absolutely astronomically high price point. I'm not sure why Mafex hasn't capitalized and tried to re-release it. I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe it's really difficult with the contract that they have. Maybe they're only limited to a certain amount of re-releases or releases in general throughout the year. So that could be a potential possibility out there. But it makes no sense that Mafex hasn't tried dipping back into that market, because there's definitely a demand for it. And there are a number of other different versions. I think like the original Mafex, there's an X-Force Wolverine that's also going for over $100, and then the original yellow one is also going for well over 100. Not to mention a couple of other Spider-Mans here and there that go for a couple of hundred. Referring to Mafex, the original manufacturer, not the CT Toys version. But this company saw an opportunity to really capitalize on the fact that Mafex hasn't tried re-releasing any of these, and I believe they're cashing in completely here. In case you guys are wondering, in terms of reviews, like I said, I don't own any of the originals nor the CT Toys at this particular moment. I do plan on picking up a couple of these CT Toys, But upon going online, going on YouTube, and seeing a lot of great reviews, whether it was like Rocco the Great, who's one of my favorite YouTubers, Action Display, and then Sir Dork, I believe, also has a couple of reviews for the CT Toys action figures. They did a phenomenal job of covering these. In some cases, they have the originals as well as the CT Toys versions. And even if they don't have the originals, they can just tell you whether the figure is worth picking up or not. Now, I think it depends on what deal you're getting. Like, there are some welcome deals. Usually those are the ones that I would suggest to take advantage of. Essentially, if you're creating a new account, if you haven't ordered anything from AliExpress, you can actually get or take advantage of some of these deals. In some cases, you can get these CT toys for under $20. And based on the reviews that I've seen thus far, that's a phenomenal price point. As I said, some of the originals for these are either going for well over $100, $200. And in the case of the brown suited Wolverine, that's going for well over $500 to $600. Now, not everything that CT Toys up to this point has done is absolute magic. I believe a couple of the classic suited Spider-Mans did get bashed by some of these content creators, as well as I believe it was the Agent Venom, which I think varied. There were some people that had some big major issues with this particular figure, like the head was coming off, or some of the accessories were not great. But that brings up the question whether this is the future of collectibles. I feel like we're inching closer to it. We've already talked about like Marvel knockoff Marvel Legends action figures, which I know some people think are like QC rejects. It doesn't really matter. They're knockoffs. They're not originally distributed by Hasbro. Same thing with a lot of the Black Series figures. We're starting to see that more consistently. Like a lot of the clones, a lot of people have a ton of different custom stormtroopers or clones in their display just to like spice it up or add a number of different clones that Hasbro has not released yet. So could this be a more consistent trend later down the line? I will say it's kind of a symbiotic relationship when you think about it, because I just give you guys my personal theory about how they manufacture these. There is a slight percentage of a chance that CT Toys is able to get their hands on the body molds for these particular figures, or whatever toolage they use to actually put the figure together, and that could be a real world possibility. But I will say that's, at least in my mind, it seems like it's a lot more complex than just actually like re-engineering or remanufacturing these figures based on the original figure, just taking it apart, having an engineer that's experienced putting the figure together. So in retrospect, CT Toys isn't really manufacturing their own figures, right? Like, they don't have an engineer somewhere actually putting these figures together, putting the body mold, bringing accessories together, the packaging. That takes time and effort. And not only that, you need a ton of experience, especially when it comes to higher end action figures, especially if they're 112 and then in that $100 to $120 price point range. When it comes down to those figures, everything needs to be perfect. Articulation schemes, paint applications, things of that nature. And I don't think that CT Toys is doing this necessarily on their own. They're taking a template, they're taking a blueprint, and then from that kind of fleshing out and offering it to their public. So, Mafex still needs to kind of exist to an extent for CT Toys to continue to be successful. It's not like CT Toys is just coming up with these body molds on their own or coming up with the engineer work. They still need the foundation of Mafex or whatever other company that they're copying or they're replicating. That company still needs to be relatively successful. And I think where they're really going to be able to kind of flourish and become a great company is by finding those Mafex action figures, or just those action figures in general that have already been out for quite some time, that are already going for astronomically high prices, and remanufacturing those or putting them back into production. Obviously, like I said, with smaller QC issues here and there, they're obviously not the same quality. But if they're able to do that, I think they're going to find themselves in a really good spot, in a really sweet spot, where Mafex is still relatively successful with some of their newer releases. But then if they're not re-releasing anything, that's when CT Toys can kind of swoop in and really take advantage of that opportunity. And by the way, this isn't just for CT Toys or Mafex or any of these imported figures. This really goes across the board for any knockoff manufacturer. Like, the original manufacturer still has to be relatively successful. They still have to be able to churn out like really good product for these knockoff companies to be able to replicate what they do. Like I said, in some cases they're able to get their hands on the body molds. In other cases, they have to like re-engineer the body molds or whatever the case may be. But like I said, it's still like a symbiotic relationship. So as much as, I constantly see these comments or people just, like down with Hasbro, down with Mafex or whatever the big OM is, at the end of the day, you still kind of need them. They still need to be around. They still need to be semi-successful for CT Toys and a lot of these knockoffs to be able to swoop in and actually manufacture like really good product for a very reasonable price. So if you guys are interested, definitely check these out. Like I said, I trust a lot of these big content creators. They make absolutely killer content. Any screenshot that I threw up for that particular content creator, I've watched the video, I've enjoyed it. I highly suggest you guys go ahead and check these guys out because they have some really insightful stuff. And like I said, if you guys are interested, check them out. Also, check out the AliExpress website, because if you're a first-time buyer, or I believe you can probably still create like a new account and then just take advantage of like all the first-time purchase deals that they usually have. I'm not really too versed in the AliExpress website, but from my understanding, if you're like a first-time buyer, they'll have some really good deals. But also, if you like, buy at certain times, or if you buy certain combinations, from a particular seller, usually you'll get like better deals and things of that nature. So it's definitely a better option, because I also went I also checked out eBay, and they have some listings for the CT Toys as well, but they're usually marked up by quite a bit. Like, you can probably get them on AliExpress, the first time purchase under $20. If you go on eBay, you're looking to pay like $35 to $40. So they definitely mark it up. I'm not sure if it's because eBay has like that extra layer of protection through eBay. Like, if anything's wrong with it, you can actually like resort to eBay and they'll help you out a little bit. Whereas in AliExpress, I'm not sure if it's the same process, or if I'm not sure if they have like that same safety net, which I'm assuming they probably don't. So some people may feel a little bit more comfortable with eBay. If that's the case for you, definitely check it out through eBay. You'll be paying a little bit of a markup, but in some cases it'll definitely be worth it. So there you guys have it. It's just kind of a little bit of a heads up, like, hey, check this OM out. I've been hearing a lot of great things. And then let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know your experiences. Like I said, I've kind of been gravitating more towards a lot of knockoff action figures, not because I want to, but it's just like every time I go online to do a little bit of shopping, or to watch some content from some good solid content creators, I run into a lot of people talking about knockoffs, and it's kind of like piqued my interest a little bit more and more. Like I said, I do plan on doing like a little bit of a shopping spree on AliExpress and buying a few of these, for the channel. So I'll eventually get to that, but just wanted to kind of bring it to your guys' attention. I think they're doing a really good job. It appears they're putting the figures together extremely well. And look, in some cases, some people may go, hey, just buy the original, right? Like, you're only gonna pay a certain amount. But in certain cases, like the brown suited Wolverine, there's no option. Like, very few people are gonna have an extra even if you have the extra $600, are you really going to spend it on an action figure? I highly doubt it, right? And really the only option is the CT Toys version, unless you want to go for like a cheaper, Marvel Legends or whatever the case may be. But if you want the original Mafex, I think this is as close as you can get to it. So like I said, check out these guys. They have some great reviews. They'll give you a more insightful look into the figure. And if you guys are interested in picking it up through AliExpress, definitely go ahead and check those out as well. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to stay tuned. We do upload action figure content pretty consistently. So, if you guys enjoy this type of stuff, you guys will definitely enjoy our future content. I've also made a number of different videos talking about knockoffs. If you guys are interested in seeing like some really cool listings for knockoff Marvel Legends or knockoff Black Series action figures, I also have videos for that. So I'll throw up a little thumbnail or something for you guys, or throw up something on the screen. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there. I'm taking a nap. And as always, the most important part of everything, enjoy the hobby. Play with your action figures, pose them, photograph them, whatever it is that you do. Just enjoy them. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.